I'd be very interested in your comments after you get a chance to look at it. But I think, I'm not sure, that it addresses most of the concerns. I mean, even the original bill, the idea is to try to do something that we think is legal and constitutional without overstepping the bounds. Who knows where the bounds are? The courts will make that determination at some future time. But the concept is not to make it so onerous as to be de facto prohibition. So what we've done is we've changed it from the original proposal was every time there's an expenditure over $10,000, this be a one-time annual vote, followed by a disclosure by the board of directors anytime they vote to spend more than $50,000. Not an additional vote of the shareholders, but a notification online and then in a quarterly report to shareholders that this is what we have done. And the annual shareholder vote would be to set a limit, to say you can spend up to X dollars, whatever that might be. It would be a separate vote that's required. And we did not try to take on one of the reasons this bill is what it is, including some of the union issues. I think some of the union questions are fair questions. Is that I tried to draft this bill in the jurisdiction of this committee. These other issues go to other committees, and you all know that there are other bills pending at the moment to address some of the other concerns, including some of the greater corporate concerns, which I think are legitimate as well. And though Mr. Barron is gone, I just want to make sure he knows that we did take out that specific language relative to media corporations because it's not necessary as we understand it now. But that's the basic idea, and I want to be real clear. The whole concept of this bill is to try to thread the needle to say what can we do without being overly burdensome, but also asking whose money is it? And in this situation, it is clearly and unequivocally the shareholders' money. And honestly, one of the things we did, I want to be clear, is that there was some debate as to how we could get to each individual shareholder so as to not disadvantage one shareholder or another. We couldn't figure out a way to get to the people represented by proxies without creating a system that was so burdensome that I think that a court probably would have ruled it so and said it was a de facto prohibition. So we left the proxies do it as long as they report to the people that they are voting on their behalf. And again, if somebody has a suggestion as to how we could do it, I totally agree. I would prefer a situation where each individual shareholder could cast that vote. We couldn't come up with a way that would do it that we thought would stand the test of the Constitution. But I want to be clear. I don't know, and I'm not all that fearful of most corporations doing it. If I had my druthers, and everybody has different goals and motivations, my motivation in a perfect world would be get everybody out of the electoral process except those of us who has our name on the ballot. Everybody else should be out of it. I can't do it. That's the way it is. But I would have not just no corporate money, no union money, no 527s, no DCCC, no nobody. If I had my druthers, just me, my opponents, and the voters. I can't get there. At least if you can help me get there, I'm more than happy to listen. But absent that, the next best thing I can do is at least allow the voters to know who is saying what about who. And I have, under that situation, I have no serious concern if Exxon Corporation wants to take out an ad that says I'm good, bad, or indifferent. I don't like, and I actually would love to find a way to get away from the Citizens for a Better World saying Mike Capuano stinks. Who are they? And we're trying to do that in other bills. The whole idea is that the battle over ideas and philosophy should be between the voters and the people that they are electing. And others should either stay out or put their name on the ballot, or at least, at the very least, let the voters know who they are as they speak. And that's for both sides. And at the moment, as I understand it, the entire money spent on federal elections in 2008 was in the $5 billion range. That's every penny that was spent by every federal candidate, both themselves, and DCCC, the RNCC, and all the others that play these games. The problem is, up until now, without the general treasuries of these corporations being involved, okay, we know the universe, the impact is minimal, even if there was, I think it was Mr. Barron who said there was something like $4 million spent in the Massachusetts election. Well, that's out of about $30 million that was spent on that whole election. The problem is that Exxon Corporation is just one corporation, made a profit of $45 billion in the same year that the total spent on elections was $5 billion. They could take 10% of their profit, not their operating expenses, of just their profit, and equal every penny spent in every election across the country and clearly have a serious voice. Okay, we can't stop that. I got it. But we can certainly let people know where it comes from. So I've heard several ideas here today that I do want to follow up with several of you. on specific comments because, I am open to anything. And even Professor Verrett, I don't agree with some of your philosophical views. That's fair. But honestly, I am more than open to try to find a way. I'm not trying to stick it to anybody. I'm trying to do just the opposite. And I fully suspect we will come up with a different philosophical viewpoint, but that doesn't mean you can't help us find a way to at least better impose a philosophy that you don't agree with. And I would ask that you do so. So I would ask that you read the new bill, and I would ask that you look at it in that way. And again, if there's a more perfect way to do it, want to hear it. And I am involved with some of the other bills that are being written for other committees, and I will tell you that these are not easy things to do. You know that. And if there are suggestions as we go along as to how to do it, please, you guys are the experts here. Help us do it, even if you don't agree with us. And so that, honestly, I don't have questions, but I will tell you that we will be calling you, and I really do ask that you read the bill and take a look at it, and again, give us your viewpoint. And the philosophical viewpoints, sounds like I'll agree with some. Professor, I presume we won't agree, but that's okay. That's what we do here. I still would like to have your input on the details. If you find a detail you think that we could change, I'm not only open, I encourage you to do it.
You got it.
Thank you. With that, I really don't have questions per se. Oh, yeah, right. I got something here from the Brennan Center that they have asked that we submit into the official record. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, we will do that.
Without objection, so.
They're a well-respected organization with some interesting thoughts. And with that, I think, again, I apologize for holding you here, but you guys know the system. And thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Copeland. Any other members seek recognition? Okay. May I apologize for the lack of good scheduling in the House. But there's a lot of things happening that required us to remain there and now return with several other votes. But we appreciated your input, certainly your testimony. Look forward to having your expertise available as we start down this road. One of the thoughts, if you could give some thought to it, is many of you may be familiar with the Landrum-Griffith Act, as it guarantees democratic processes for labor unions. I don't think we have a comparable act regarding corporations. And it may be an interesting time, since corporations are going to be taking part in the political process, that we may find a corollary type of act requiring corporations to have democratic principles apply and methodologies of enforcing the same. When I was in private practice before my election to Congress, I was fortunate to have the first damage case against one of our national unions under the Landrum-Griffith Act. And their denial of democratic practices after that recovery, which was substantial, changed the course of how unions operated. Maybe we could apply the same principles to corporations in order to provide democratic principles in how they act and whatever we do in terms of their activities, and that will be perhaps a good enforcement mechanism. But if you think about it and analyze it as we go through this process. Now, without any further ado, the chair notes that some members may have additional questions for this panel, which they may wish to submit in writing. Without objection, the hearing record will remain open for 30 days for members to submit written questions to these witnesses and to place their responses in the record. Before we adjourn, the following will be made part of the record of this hearing: the written statements of Lisa Gilbert, United States Public Interest Research Group, and without objection, we'll enter the polling that was offered earlier, which I had not entered into the record. Now, let it be noted that without any objection, that polling will be attached to the witness's testimony and entered into the record. Further, without any objection, it is so ordered. The panel is dismissed, and this hearing is adjourned.